Okay, today, June 2nd, 2022, class number 371 is called Go Back Home. Go Back Home. I thought that was, well, let me put it like this. As I said earlier, I had another title for this sharing this morning, but then about an hour ago, something came to me. It was like, you should call it Go Back Home. And then I looked at the foundation scripture, and it was John 3:13, and I'll get into that in just a minute. But I want to start out with the Aramaic translation of faith. And once you truly understand the Aramaic translation of faith, not just the one that's from the Greek, that's in the King James, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. You know, that doesn't help you much at all. Faith is the substance. Well, the substance makes you think of something that's tangible that you made something out of. Then you start trying to get, so how do I get a job, and what is the substance that my job is made out of? It just carries you in all kinds of directions, and it doesn't really help you. But when you think about Paul and what this really says in Aramaic, it changes the whole thing. We've talked about it before. I posted it before, but I posted it again because it just makes so much sense. The Aramaic translation is, now faith is the conviction or the assurance of our expectations. And it was the conviction of things that are already in existence and the revelation of that which we can't see. Wow. Now think about that. Actually, the more I listened to Rocco Errico talk about it, he was saying they really didn't use the word that means substance. They said faith is a conviction. It is an assurance of things expected, not hoped for, because hope just kind of has you dangling. I'm hoping this is going to happen. But in reality, when you use the word expectation, I expect this. And so my assurance is I expect that which I can't see because I already have it. I have the idea of it, so I have the it. Because it was the assurance of things that are already in existence. It was the revelation. They didn't use evidence. It was the revelation of that which I can't see. So that means if I get a revelation, I have what it is that I expect. Now, that assurance comes from where? The mind. The only place you are assured is the mind. And feeling always comes after an assurance of the truth. And there's only two kinds of feeling. One is the one of assurance and what have you, and the other one is the one of fear. Now, the one with the assurance, the I who's saying I am assured can't have a feeling of fear. I said, well, what about doubt? That's the same thing. Doubt is, I'm afraid it might not happen. But I am assured that it has already happened because it's based on a promise which has already been kept. Let me say that again. I am assured in my mind. What mind is that? The mind of Christ. That mind which was also in Christ Jesus. Paul went on to say, we have the mind of Christ. So since I have that mind, and I, in that mind, am assured that that which I expect has already happened because I have a revelation of it. It's not something that's going to happen. It is something, I am bringing out something that has already happened. And it is outpictured. When I'm not thinking about it anymore, when I forget about it, when I just let it go back off into the secret place, it just appears. I call it an appearance. I don't have to call it good because I know that there's nothing good but God. So it's God appearing because I am assured that I expect God to appear in form of that thing which I expect. That just kind of takes hope all out of it, the way they use hope, wondering if something is going to happen. That's tremendous, a tremendous mistake. Now, understanding that revelation that I just shared, then we honestly know that we have great expectations. I mean, I'm expecting God to show up and appear. I'm expecting God to reveal what has already happened. Those are great expectations. I'm expecting God to share the word because I am completely absorbed in living in God, the one self, the true self. I'm not really expecting to live in Michael because Michael is the man whose breath is in his nostrils. And Michael is the guy who, as I said last week, he makes mistakes. God doesn't, and I don't. And I'm assured that God is living God's life as I. Now, how do we come up with this title? Well, thinking like that, like what I just said, that translation of faith, thinking like that, I'm at home. I'm at home. But when I start going out here hoping and praying and wondering if something is going to happen and what have you, I've left home. I've gone away from home. I'm out here in a far country now. How am I going to get this? How am I going to do that? How am I da-da-da-da-da? Well, let's look at John 3:13. I'd never seen this way. I listened to Neville talk about something the other day, and I was shaking and shattering, and so I was like, what in the world? And then I continued to meditate this thing. I guess I did because I forgot about it. I just let it drop. And it came back like this. It says, no one, John 3:13, no one. I think it says no man, but I'm just saying no one because people get confused. They start talking about man and they go off into gender thinking of a he or him. No one ascended into heaven except the one that descended. They automatically go to Jesus. Jesus left heaven, and now he ascended back. And a deeper meaning, a deeper revelation of that came to me yesterday evening. It came back again last night. It says, when you leave the harmony that you have, you know that you're living in heaven. You're living in the reality of the righteousness of the truth. I am. When you leave that and start trying to become something, when you leave that and start trying to figure out how to fix something, when you leave that state of perfection and decide to go out here and try to make something, bring something together, get people to believe, get people to do things, get people to act, try to preach them into understanding something, you have left heaven. You have descended. Now it's saying, go back home. Ascend back into heaven. Jesus did it all the time. Jesus would walk around and see somebody and they weren't feeling well. He was tempted to do what? Leave heaven and say, oh, this man is sick. But in reality, Jesus knew that there was no such man because God is appearing as man. So God can't be sick. If people came up and asked for help, he gave it to them. If they didn't, he kept on going. That vision in my mind just will not go away. He was not looking for people to preach to. They followed him. They followed him. I mean, think about it. Who needs healing? Who really does need to be healed? When we leave heaven, descend, we could need some of anything. Money, health, appreciation. How many people run around feel like people don't appreciate me? I had somebody tell me that, man, I've done everything I was supposed to do. Sound like anybody familiar to you? The boy in the Bible that told Jesus, I've done all this stuff. Jesus said, yeah, I know. But one thing you lack. See, go sell all. What's he saying? Get rid of everything that you think that you did and come and follow me. See, when you leave the I that I am, the one I, capital I, and drop down to the little I, then what you've done is you've left heaven. And so now that little I is always going to have a problem, always going to need something. Always, always. I can't stress that enough. So we have to realize that the I that I am never needs anything. God doesn't need anything, and the I that I am is one with God, so I can't need anything. See, it's a difference in reacting or responding. Somebody says to you, man, I feel so bad, I don't know what to do. Well, I have to know first that there's no such I that's feeling bad. It doesn't exist. If you ask me for some help, I'm going to say, okay. Because I know good and well you've already been given the help. You wouldn't ask for it if you hadn't received it already. So the person who says, will you help me? I'm saying, yes, I. Why? Because I'm recognizing the I of your being. Because there's only one being, and that one being is I. So when I recognize that, it means I am responding. If I start trying to heal you, I am reacting. And the you that I'm trying to heal may or may not get a little something to feel better, but guess what? A couple of days later, there'll be something else that doesn't feel good. A couple of days later, there'll be something else. Or there'll be somebody in your family or one of your friends. There'll always be something going on with this little I, because this little I represents to me the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But the I that I am is the one saying, be still, little I. Be still, little I. Die daily. This little I is the guy that's got to die every day. Because if I be lifted up, I draw the manifestations of the truth that I am unto me. God does not need anything. The I that I am does not need anything. I'm quite sure Carmen relates to this because we go all the way back to the Michigan days. I have no needs. There is no material I. There's no such thing as an I that is material. There's only the I that I am. But this material I is a false sense, and it is an egotistical false sense. It is saying, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. Like I said, a guy said to me, man, after all I've done, after all of the things I've done, I've been good, I've treated people right, and I still find myself in the same situations, the same things happening to me, people disrespecting me, people doing all these different kinds of things to me and talking about me behind my back, stabbing me in the back. I'm like, there's a litany going on here. And I realize there's no such I. There's no such I. Because the same people who are representing that false sense of who they are, this little I, at some particular point, they drop out of your life. That little I dies. It goes away. You don't hear from them. Just like Kenny said a few minutes ago. Raymond died 20 years ago. So, the Raymond, here's this guy saying, he says, I'm trying to scam this guy. Who's trying to scam Kenny? The little I is saying, I'm going to scam him. I'm going to hack his email or his text messages, and I'm going to gain entry into, well, you can't gain entry into who I am. You can't. So then you say, well, how are you doing? I'm great. So how's Raymond? It reminds me of Richard Pryor said, where's Raymond? How's Raymond doing? Oh, he's fine. Oh, really? Well, Raymond died 20 years ago. That's funny. You see what I'm saying? There's only one I, and the guy that's trying to scam you is the I. And if I lose the false sense of this little I, this little guy was not going to try to scam me again. He might just stop trying to scam everybody. I recognize the I that I am will crack open a little bit of light to cause some people to say, what in the world am I doing? It starts them on the path. There is no material I. So I respond. I don't react. I respond. And my response is always the same thing, I. If I find myself reacting, I get caught in the middle of it and say, wait a minute, I'm back. I'm looking at this little I try to assert itself. And I stop. I did this the other day. I was sitting there and I was saying, wow, man, and I was thinking about something kind of traumatic, but it was only traumatic to this little I, this false sense of itself. And I stopped and I said, that person doesn't exist. There's only the I. There's only I. And my thoughts went totally away from it because they all died with the fact that I said, no, this little I, it's not here. There's only I. The capital I. There is no material I. You said, if you believe that, that's demonstration. That's what we meant last week. Belief is demonstration. The moment I believe that I am assured of that which I expect, because I know that assurance was the revelation of what I wasn't seeing, what I wasn't experiencing from a so-called natural state. It really is always in existence. You cannot get it to not be in existence because creation is absolutely complete. And all things are yours because all things are ideas. And those ideas are embodied in the I that I am and that you are. There's only one I, and it has all the ideas already embodied in it. So I have to have it. When I stop this little I from thinking about how can I do whatever, I'm accepting the things that are coming from God. Now I'm going to tell you, this is the practical side of some of the things that have happened. I'm going to tell you two little stories. I hope I can get them in time because I know we have to have time to share and talk about what we talked about today at the end of this. Let's start with the most recent. My daughter, after she experienced the stillbirth of her child back last July, her company forced her back to work earlier than she was supposed to come back. And then she had been diagnosed from a doctor, her doctor did. She had been diagnosed with PTSD as a result of all of the stress and that trauma that had gone on. Now, of course, she's not realizing I am I as opposed to this little I. And guess what, y'all? Her daddy is not recognizing it either. and she's feeling totally alone. This is last July. Her mom is in the process of moving toward transition, that little I. Guess what? Her mom's husband is not realizing the divine I in her either. And so as things are going along, she's diagnosed with this PTSD. They force her back to work. And when she gets back to work, they start taking account, making documentation, documenting every little mistake that she makes. And this lady who is her director, they keep putting her on a 30-day improvement plan. Now, think about it now. You're back to work for only a month or two, and they start in on you. And they start hitting you with all of this document, we're going to put you on a 30-day improvement plan. Then when it comes time to have the 30-day, they extend it. We can't get together this week because of, and then we'll get together in another 30 days. And they do this over and over again. And she's calling me, Daddy, I think they're just doing da-da-da-da-da. You know the rest of the story. They're setting me up. That's it. In my mind, I'm not realizing the divine I, and I know what they're doing. I've been an HR person. I've been a manager of HR. I know exactly what they're doing. And so in the end, when it's time for them to have the 30-day, they don't have it. They call her on the phone and fire her. And then they turn around and they say, we're going to give you X amount severance, and you have to sign this, and you sign this, and this is a non-disclosure form that you won't sue us, and ding, 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 and we'll just go our separate ways. So, of course, she's upset. She calls me. She's going through all of this. I, operating out of that, reacting as a little I, call a couple of my friends, one, an attorney who used to represent me back in the day, musically, and then another friend who is vice president of the Los Angeles chapter of the National Action Network. We have some conversations. I put her in touch with them, and then she's in touch with her attorney. They're going through all of this, and they said, well, find out whether there's a deadline that you have to sign this thing, and they'll give you your money and you move on. She said, there's nothing in this letter that says what time I have to, I have a certain amount of time to sign it. So then they said, well, then tell them that you're going to consult with your legal team and that you'll be back in touch with them. And she did that. And one of the HR people said, no, there's no definite time, and get back to us and let us know. So then she said, Dad, she called me back. Dad, here's this job that I really, really would like to have. It's more the kind of work that I really want to do, and it's a manager. She said, I've never been a manager before. And I said, do you meet all of the qualifications? She said, yeah, I do. She said, I'm going to apply. I said, okay. Within a 2-week period, from the time she applied, they did a virtual interview. They asked her for some character references. She sent all of that stuff in, and they said, we're going to have a second interview. We've narrowed it down to 2 candidates. She said, so, Dad, what's the second interview for? I said, the second interview is for them to realize that they can get along with you. They're in that balancing act now. They're looking at personalities. They're looking at who's going to be easiest to get along with. And then after her second interview, it's funny. My daughter is something else. She said, Dad, she said, I know that they have what they call casual and business casual. She said, but some of the people that I see that go to work on business casual, she said, they look like they in the park. I said, yeah, I know. She said, I'm going to wear a dress, but I'd like to put a little blazer with it. And she said, you know, I can't. She said, I'm fired. I can't be going into my rent money. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, Sean, I said, if you need some money to help you get a blazer, I'll send it to you. I said, I can cash up you that today, what have you. She was like, well, let me go out here and see first, and then I'll let you know. I said, okay. I said, a blazer, we're talking anywhere from $50 back, right? No more than about $50. And she was like, I'll let you know. She got in touch with me the next day. Dad, I got a blazer. I went to the Salvation Army store. I found a really nice blazer. It cost me $5. I look real good in it. And then she said, we had the virtual interview, and they said, we will let you know the next steps to take from here, and we'll let you know by next Thursday. This was last Thursday. We'll let you know by next Thursday. She says, Dad, she says, so they're going to let me know the next steps to take. I said, Shauna, they're telling you that they've hired you. She said, why? I said, because, why would you need next steps? If they get back in touch with you to say, usually it's, we'll be back in touch. That normally means you are not the one. They're going with somebody else, and they're saying, we'll be back in touch with you, meaning they're giving themselves time to make sure that all the ducks are in a row, that you've met all the that the other person meets the qualifications better than you, and they can't get sued and what have you for hiring somebody that was not as qualified. And so she said, I said, yeah. I said, next steps? So then during the week, she's calling. She's worried. This was like on Tuesday. Dad, I got this and I got that. But by Wednesday, her father is now seeing the divine eye. And when she comes back to my head and in my mind, I say, I. There's no Shauna. There's I. I'm responding now. I'm not reacting anymore. She writes me back. They told me my attorney said I should get more than 2 months severance. I should ask for 4 and see because they just want me to go away. And so if I go back and ask them, is there room, you should give me 4. I'm not demanding it, but I'm just saying you didn't give me time, a bridge time to get a new job. You didn't give me time. I've got to deal with my health care. I've got to start paying for it myself. You didn't give me. You just tossed me out. So she said, "What should I do, Dad?" I said, "Well, you know what? I can't tell you what to do." I said, "But I can tell you this. I know that if I cast my care on Him who cares for me, I don't have to think about it anymore." So I realized that I am I, the same I that I am, you are. I said, so I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to realize that the I that I am has resolved this situation. The next thing you know, I felt like Enoch. I felt like I walked with the Lord and the Lord took him. What does that mean? That means I didn't think about her anymore. I didn't think about her all day long yesterday. I'd gone back to the studio with Jamal the other night, and we finished the Negro spiritual song, and we, and I got to bed about 3 in the morning, and I went jogging. I didn't think about Shauna. Last night, I get a call from Shauna. Daddy, they made me the offer. I said, well, I told you that the other day. And she said, yeah, but. I said, ain't no but. Ain't no but. You sit on that. I told you the other day it was done because they told you next steps. They told you, get ready. She said, well, yeah. She said, I said, blessed. She said, yeah. I said, that's it. I said, so. She said, well, I still wrote the letter to the other company that fired me, and she read it to me. I said, yeah, you Michael Orr's son. You Cynthia Orr's, daughter. You Cynthia Orr's daughter. I said, that's very tactful, that's very diplomatic, and you left them hanging. They don't know what's going to go on. They will either come back to you and say, we'll give you a little more. They'll give you 3. They'll negotiate, or they'll say, we're not going to give you anything else. But at least you know that they're going to give you something. So don't think about it anymore. Just realize I am I. And that was the end of that. Now, the last thing, the last little story I want to tell you. I'm going to rush this one because I'm looking at the time. Jamal, furloughed 2 years ago, just trying to make ends meet, going back and forth, all kinds of little odd jobs all over the place. His daddy not realizing or recognizing the I that I am. And I told you guys, I think about a month ago, they gave him a position. It was supposed to last a week. The next thing you know, it lasted a month. His daddy is still not realizing that there's no little I who is no little I unemployed. There's only I that God is. And then there's we want to keep Jamal. This is the director of the project that they placed Jamal on. His company was trying to send him back to not using his engineering skills, his audio visual skills, his broadcast skills. They're trying to send him back over there to lifting speakers and setting them up and setting up rooms and then tearing them back down. And when he was trying to get them to see his skills and to see who he was and what he was doing, they weren't paying any attention. Now they have a need for somebody with those kinds of skills, but they're trying to still send him back over there, and they're trying to find somebody else. They had somebody else in mind. The guy that Jamal worked for 1 week said, no. I want to keep this guy. That guy works for the same company that Jamal works for, and he's the director. He said, no, I want to keep Jamal. He's making my day really easier. So then they come back and they say, well, he can stay through June. And I told you that, I think I told you guys, Jamal said, I'm just going to bone up on all of the WebEx experience that I can get and all of the stuff that they use to broadcast. He said, I know a lot of it, but I'm just going to start taking all of the different little tests and certifications that they have out here free. And then his boss came to him and said, Jamal, we're going to have a lot of downtime in a couple of weeks. You need to bone up on all of the WebEx experience you can get, all of the classes, and Jamal cut him off in the middle of it and said, as a man told me one time, I've been done did that. Jamal said that to me because we say that all the time. I told the guy one time, man, look, lose my number. Don't call me no more. He said, I've been done did that. And so he told me, he said, wow, man. He said, this is really cool, Pop. He said, things are beginning to, I said, to look right. He said, yeah. Well, his daddy then started looking at the I that I am. I has no need. And so yesterday, I said to Jamal last week, you just need to be relevant, man. I said, when you're relevant, people come to you. Yesterday, what came to me was Psalm 18, verse 16. It says, Proverbs 18, verse 16. Proverbs 18 and 16. A man's gifts make room for him and bring him before great men. Now, when they say great men, I know that they're talking about the people in charge, the manager, the director, the person who can make the decision. But when you're relevant, that means your gifts, the only relevancy that you have is that you are the I that I am. And that means you are relevant. And you are dealing with a manager, but don't look at him or her. Don't look at them as this little I, this little human, mortal person who can make a decision. Look at I, the I that I am. And yesterday, Jamal calls me back, and he says, man, my boss is like, I really need you here. I said, Jamal, you're not going anywhere. I said, you're going to be there and you're going to leave on your terms. I said, when you come to the point that you realize that I am just I, this I that I am, I said, things are going to just be handed to you. You won't have to go out here working for them trying to be relevant. You already are relevant. He throws it back in my face yesterday. We talking, he's going, see, Dad, you got to make yourself valuable. I said, does that sound like I told you last week you need to be relevant? Sheepishly, he said, oh, yeah. I said, yeah, right. I, the I that I am. Well, Dad, I'm going to, do this, and I'm going to do this, and I said, okay, as long as you realize you're the I. See, man makes his plans, but I, God, direct his steps. If I be lifted up, I draw all men unto me. You see, the promises are kept. The promises of God are kept. I want to read you the promises that I claimed for myself that are kept. And I said, I went to God, and I said, Lord, meaning Father, big fella, I, the Son, one with you, that who I am. Ask anything in my name. Ask anything in the understanding that which I'm seeking I am. Ask anything in that understanding it has already been given. I said, Lord, these are the promises that I have kept. I started out with, you made me a promise that my descendants will be mighty upon the earth, and I would be blessed in the generation of the upright. I said, my children, I'm tired of this suffering. That means I'm tired of having a false sense of who they are. I just want to understand that they are the I. And you said they would be mighty on the earth, and I just want to see it. You said, command ye me. Well, I'm claiming this promise, the word, and that word is commanding the outpicturing of the promise. Then I went back and I read the whole psalm. Praise the Lord. Psalms 112. Blessed is the man who fears or reveres the Lord, who praises the Lord, who is vigilant in his commandments. Vigilant in the commandments. In other words, you commanded this by your word. I am the I that accepts it. This man's or woman's, however you need to do, whatever's politically correct, their descendants shall be mighty upon the earth, and he shall be blessed in the generation of the upright. Wealth and riches shall be in his house. That means his consciousness. And his righteousness endures forever. To the upright there shines a light in the darkness. He is gracious and full of compassion upon the righteous. Blessed is the man, no gender, who shows mercy and lends. He shall proclaim his words with judgment. Surely he shall not be moved forever. The righteous shall be in everlasting remembrance. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord, trusting in the I am. His heart is strengthened. He shall not be afraid until he sees his desire upon his enemies. That used to always trouble me a little bit. What is my desire upon my enemies? That they open their eyes and realize the I that I am. He has given generously. He has given to the poor. His righteousness endures forever and ever. His horn shall be exalted with honor. That means this man will be famous because he's relevant. And God reveals the I am. This man is relevant. His horn is exalted. As they say, he's blessed and highly favored. The wicked shall see it and be grieved. He shall gnash his teeth and be confounded, and the desire of the wicked shall perish. Only you can destroy the desire of the wicked, because as you realize I am I, there is no wicked, this little I. That means it dissipates and goes out of your life experience. Psalms 112. Shauna and I were talking, and she said, You know, we were going back and forth, and I was saying, well, her dreams and answering her question about whether I should sue them or not. I just said, Sean, I said, God, it's all up to God, just like in a post I did the other day. As long as I know the truth about you, and as long as I know that it has been revealed to me that which is to be has already been, it's already in existence, I am already on top of this, and I realize it, I can go on and forget about it. I said Isaiah 65:24 says, I have already answered. Before they call, I have answered. I said Psalm 32:8, I've led you in the way that you ought to take. I've made you understand. I will counsel you with my eye, EYE. I'll follow you. I realize that you're going to leave heaven and descend and try to start dealing with this, but I'm going to remind you. I said, that Isaiah 65:24. She said, Daddy, last night when I went to bed, I had a dream. I said, but she said, I kept dreaming. I'm dreaming Isaiah 64. She said, I dream about my mom all the time. And she said, but I feel like mom is back in the background helping me. But she said, but Isaiah 64, she just kept coming to me, Isaiah 64. I read Isaiah 64, and I said, what stands out to me is verse 4. I said, Isaiah 64, let me pull it up right quick. It reminds me of something Paul said. And it says, Isaiah 64, verse 4. Since I'm going to give you more of the Aramaic version of it from Dr. Lamsa. And it says, for since the beginning of the world, men have not heard nor perceived by the ear, neither has the eye seen, O God, any besides thee, because of what you do for those that wait for you. I said, wow, Paul was claiming that verse. Eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor has it entered into the mind of man the things that God has prepared for him. That's 1 Corinthians 2:9. It's the same as Isaiah 64:4. That means command thou me, this word. These promises are kept. I'm telling you, the little eye is the serpent of Moses. And when Moses lifted up that serpent in the wilderness, he was going back home. No man has ascended into heaven except he who descended, she who descended down into this. In other words, you drop out of heaven when you start trying to fix your stuff, and you ascend when you realize I am I and I have no need. That's the ascension. From reacting to responding, from descending to ascending. Psalm 91, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Where's the secret place? The consciousness of heaven. The conscious awareness that I am. Trust me, there's nothing for you to do except die daily. And every day you die from this world, you're going back home. In the understanding of Jesus the Christ, go back home. Amen. And so it is.